Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today I'm going to get into a video on how I make money through inventing. And note that my knowledge is mostly dealing with the United States. Depending on the country, things could be different. But also I'm not going to get into local permits, EPA, and stuff like that. So also keep those things in mind. Now, as far as things goes, before I get into the details of things, let's see how worthwhile this is. How much money can you make through this, through actual venting? So there's two real methods to make money through venting, and I'll explain that in detail in a bit. But the first method, which is what most people know, you invent something, you bring product to the market, you do all the manufacturing, all that other stuff, and you sell it directly or indirectly. Directly meaning through eBay, Amazon. Manufactured to customer. Indirectly being manufactured to box chain to customer. Either case, you're looking at, if it's successful, millions of dollars, tens of millions, realistically for the product lifetime. In some cases, it can even get higher than that, depending on the product into itself. Now, with that one in mind, the risk is much higher. Legal risk and other risks that's involved into it. I'll explain a bit more into that in a little bit, but you can make a ton more money on that, obviously. Now, the second is renting an idea. Now, I got a quick calculator up, but the big thing to note is in some cases you can look at 100,000 units per year, 100,000 units per lifetime of the product, or if you're lucky, 100,000 units per month, that being a normal thing. But a lot of times it's 100,000 units per year, so note that. But basically, with this second method, you're renting an idea out to a company. A company is then doing all the other stuff. They're getting with the box chains and whatever, they're selling the product, and you're getting a royalty fee per unit that's being sold. Normally this royalty unit is like 2%, can go up 5%, in some cases, extreme cases, you can go up to 10%, but a lot of times you're looking around 2% to 5%, and a lot of it, especially the newer, you're looking at 2% mark. Now, with that one in mind, let's just say, for example, you're doing 100,000 units per year. This is about $2,000 per month, or $24,000 per year. And if you knew what you're doing and you actually negotiated a way up to 5%, which can happen, I'll explain a little bit more about that, and it can show significant results. $5,000 per month, or $60,000 a year, or a $36,000 increase over what you would be doing, just to give an idea, and that's it. Now, with that one in mind, there's no guarantees on this. Inventing in general, whether you're going method 1, method 2, it doesn't have a large success rate across the board. That's the reason why I kind of advise people to go method 2 more, because you lower your financial risk, you lower your overall risk. You can probably pop out ideas quicker than you can pop out how to manufacture the thing, because ramping up a manufacturing can take a good half year to year or more, depending on things, because if it's like injection mold, you're going to have to get the mold, and that in itself can be highly expensive. And then to go from there to actually producing enough of it, that can be expensive into itself. So just note that. Now, when you rent an idea, a lot of time, once you sign the dotted line, it is out of your hands. You're just there sitting in the back, and you're collecting money at the end of the day. It's kind of what most people think of. Oh, it's the person on the beach. They're collecting money. They're not really having to worry at the end. And someone who actually knows what they're doing, yeah, that's you. Someone who's going through method 1, yeah, you're so worried that gamification is not even on the radar. So Let's get into method one real quick. Method one, most people know, you invent something, you have an idea, do prototypes, do all that stuff. You figure out how to manufacture the thing, you figure out how to market it, you do all the market analysis, with customers, how much money are people willing to spend on it. You do all the legal protections. You then go and figure out, do you want to do a direct sale? So again, from the actual manufacturer to customers, so selling through eBay, Amazon, your site, whatever. Or do you want to do a indirect sale, which is going through a major box chain, so like Walmart or something like that, in which case Walmart or whatever would buy X amount of units, and then Walmart will own it, and then from there they sell it out. It should be noted that if you go through method two, a lot of times what happens is the box chains will buy it cheaper than what you would sell it directly. The reason why is they try to put it off as logistics and all the other stuff, but in reality, a lot of times they're selling it double than what they paid for it. Keep that in mind for method two, by the way. But what would end up happening is basically you have to take a big hit on that. Now, why you wouldn't? What would keep you from going down this path, other than the idea it turns out not to be manufacturable or something like that? One is legal. So if someone gets hurt with your product or whatever it may be, then your company is liable for that. So note that. The other is with these box chains, you tend to need to have a SKU is just basically, think of it as a per product. Each product has a SKU. So you tend to need to have 10 to 100 SKUs or more to even sit down with many of these companies to negotiate for them to actually buy your stuff to sell their box chains. So with that one in mind, unless you got like a good inventory, a good amount of products already ready to be shipped and ready to go, well, the fact is they probably don't want to deal with you. And you got to have your manufacturing, all that stuff already set up and ready to go and be able to adapt as you go. The reason why is something like Walmart, for example. If you're looking at blowups, seasonal blowups at store, you're looking at them buying a year to year and a half ahead of time of a season. So, whereas most people think that, they just bought last season. That's not the case at all. So when they sell out, they legitimately sell out. They won't get any more until next year. And the reason for this is if a certain type of blow up doesn't sell a lot, returns happen or whatever, it gives ample time to deal with negotiations and deal with all that. Now, when it comes to this sitting down with the box chains, it is heavy who you know versus what your product can do, how well it can sell and stuff like that. So if you don't even know the right people, then sitting down with them is pretty much impossible into itself. So also note that there's many things that can legitimately work against you, even if your product is great, even if everybody wants it, and even if you're legally all okay, all above board. If you cannot get the product in front of people, then it can't sell. And there's many reasons that can keep you from that. And one of them can easily be, especially if you do direct, is marketing. Maybe you did bad marketing. And keep in mind, who is doing the marketing? Like if you have Walmart pay for a product and do whatever, yeah, they might do a little bit of marketing. Hey, the store is selling whatever. But for the most part, it's your company that's doing the marketing. So you want to do the TV ads and all the other stuff, and that's coming out of your pocket. So note that, and that's why you probably want to go with method 2. Is you don't have to worry about marketing, you don't have to worry about manufacturing, you don't have to worry about legal. For the most part, you have to negotiate things on that one. You don't have to worry about a number of things And these companies that you're negotiating with, if you do it right and go for the right companies, then they already have contacts with whatever box stores. And I'll show you how to do that, by the way, how to find the right companies. But basically, it's already set up, and you're just literally, here's the idea, run with it type of situation. Or here's the idea, here's the files to do whatever, run with it, and they'll figure out how to do the injection molding and all the other stuff. So method two. Method two is fairly simple, and it can be complex if you want to really do some real negotiations. But what I found at the end of the day is with method one, you can actually go out and look at some problems with some products on store shelves today and figure out, oh, I can do it better by doing XYZ. You do your research, figure out, can you do it without breaking the law, breaking patents, whatnot. And if you can, well, you can go from there. And since you're the one doing the manufacturing and all that stuff. The problem is with method two is companies have to take a large amount of risk on you. They got to take a large amount of risk on the idea, legal and otherwise, because they're going to do research to figure out, does it infringe on any patents? Even if you have a patent, or even if you have all your research in front of you, they are still going to do research on it, just, making sure everything. And they're going to make sure that it can be sold and all the other stuff. And it does take a lot of resources to vet out bad from good, especially since the fact is a lot of the ideas they get are not even manufacturable. Like, even if it can sell, if you can't make it, then it's not good. So that's a big thing. So first things first is what I find for method two. What tends to help a lot, because you're going to have to negotiate with the companies and talk to them how you came across the idea and all the other stuff, is you simply find a problem, try to find a solution in stores and whatever. If you can't find a solution there, or not a good enough solution, make a solution. And as you make the solution, try to think of a way, can it be manufactured? Can it be injection molded, or some other type of easy manufacturing techniques? Or does it have to be a complex manufacturer type of technique? Or does it have a problem, or could it have a problem with quality control? Like, can you eliminate as many of these problems out before the design's even done? If you can do it, then do it, because at that point you can actually just hand over the raw design and go from there. And if you don't have the actual way to actually make the actual product, to actually make a prototype or whatever it may be, don't worry. What you can do is go ahead and try to find as seen on TV type of companies. So for example, like this and Bulkhead, I never really worked with them before, but they are one of many companies that are as seen on TV, and they're a little bit harder to deal with as far as on this front. There's other companies that are a little bit easier on this, but they can take an idea that has no protections, no nothing, and say, hey, this is actually a good idea. They can develop it, do prototypes and all the other stuff, and they push it out. There's other companies, small, big companies, that actually does this also. In fact, there's stuff that you see in Dollar Tree and other discount stores like that, seasonal stuff. A lot of times it is something like that, where someone has an idea on some new teddy bear or whatever it may be, and basically bring it up, and the company that makes it, they like it, whatever. There's no protections on it. It's only to be sold for one season, and there you go. And a lot of times, by the way, if those seasonal items like that, the Valentine's, St. Patrick's, whatever, they're only around for that one season, so they're not really worried about long-term legality, because once that season's done, the product's done. It's not going to be made again. That's that. But you're looking at a good $10,000 just for that one season on average. What you're getting in actual royalties. So note that. That's a pretty good market to go into. There's always a turn on that. So, note that you don't need to actually have the ability to make the prototype and all the and for the protections and all the other stuff. You can simply just have the idea, and if you know the places to go to, and it has a market, then you probably can get a deal. Assuming that everything else lines up, all the stars line up, so to speak. Now, with that in mind, first things first is once you get the idea, let's assume that you want to go through the whole rigmarole. Once you got the idea, you need to, if you can, try to make the prototype, make sure everything works, all the other stuff. But again, try to make sure that it can be manufactured. Injection mold, try to figure out the pros and cons on that. Can it work with that? Can it not work with that? And go from there. Now, from there, you simply need to go and do market research on the actual product itself. Who would buy it? That's a big question. So, for example, you wouldn't sell something that only pilots would use at a beach place. Yeah, you might get a customer, but the majority of customers is not going to buy it because they don't need it or care for it. So you would find out where do pilots shop, and then you go from there. Like what stores do they shop at? Legitimately, is there a box store that is for pilots, or maybe you're for beach stuff? So maybe you want to figure out some beach stores, Ron John's, for example, a number of others that are actual chains. You'll do your basic research and figure out does it fit within your catalog. An example of this is, one of the products that I am dealing with right now has to deal with drip irrigation. And what companies deal with drip irrigation? I try to find a whole slew of companies that sell this stuff. So Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, go all down the list. And what I'm looking for is the actual companies itself, not the Lowe's whatever, because Lowe's isn't making the actual product. It's the company they're buying from. So Rain Drip, whatever. And I try to figure out, can I submit ideas to them? Do they have a way for me to submit ideas to them? And you just go and Google, Bing, Brave, whatever, and you type in whatever company, submit ideas, product licensing, whatever keywords that you want, and you figure out, can it be sold, or will they take the idea? So going through here, you can see like Rainbird. It has a way to take ideas and whatever, and a lot of times you need to look at the TOS, the terms of services, and this is actually very important to look through the stuff, because some of the terms of services on some companies can be, once you submit an idea to them, whether they accept it or not, it is theirs. There is actual terms of services like that, and I don't know if that's legal. But can you afford to fight it in court? And is it even worth fighting in court? Just skip over that company. That's a major red flag that they're probably not going to accept the product anyways. And then there's other things like, you can't submit to other companies or whatever. You should never be restricted in that aspect. In fact, the reason why I got this term of service up here is because, in my opinion, it is a good terms of service. Basically, it just talks about that, you submit a product there, they have no rights in the product, whatever, and it talks about that they might not use the product, and whatever else. So just pause the video and just look at this. It's a very good setup on terms of services that you're looking for. Now let's assume that Rainbird, whatever, if I want to work with that company, they don't have a way for me to submit products. That doesn't mean a no. They might still take ideas. In fact, they might not even have a department to do this. Some companies, even major companies, don't even think about that and say, hey, maybe we should look into this if it's brought up to them. So what you need to do is find out who's their CEO, basically their heads, and you can simply send them an email. What I find a lot of times, if you get the product heads, you can go some places. If you give some manager or whatever, it's probably going to get lost and whatever. But once you get into the C-level, and if you find a way to contact a C-level, I've gotten crap done. I've gotten crap done that you could not get done by talking to anyone else in the company. And it tends to get done very quickly. So note that. Sometimes it is worth. Now, I'm not saying don't bombard them. Try the lower levels. Sometimes if you try the lower levels, that's good enough. And if you try the higher levels, then they will blacklist you. Just so note that. I mean, legitimately note that that's not always something that you want to do. If they have a way for you to contact a lower level, then go through that and do that. And if you can find a lower level to contact, then go through that and go through that method. But if you don't hear anything back, they ghost you or whatever, then go ahead and talk to the higher level. At worst case, you'll just get ghosted there. But at best case, you might get something back and they'll say, hey, yeah, we're interested into this. Send us more information on it. Now, when you do send information like this, so right here where it says submit idea, whatever, it tells you what they want you to send. Great. But if you don't see this and there is no way, no submission, then what you need to do when you find the contacts of the people that you want to contact is go ahead and just make a simple one paragraph or less than a couple sentences that says, hey, can you do you take ideas and whatever, and just a couple sentences just asking the question. Do not send the idea. Ask the question, and if they say yes, then you send the idea. Otherwise, by sending the idea without them saying yes, they might reject it, even if they have a department to accept ideas. That happens a lot. So do not send the idea on the first contact unless it's something like this that says, oh, well, you need to send XYZ. This is the information that we want, and go from there. But before you do all that, you need to make sure your stuff is protectable. First off, go into Google patent search and just look up stuff. So in this case, drip irrigation, but it can be whatever you want. And if there's a patent that matches it, then obviously you probably need to just find another product and just go with that. But if you do not find it, then your next step needs to be getting ready, not actually submitting, but getting ready for the actual provisional patent application. Now, what's the difference between a regular patent and a provisional patent? A provisional patent application isn't really reviewed by anyone, but this is basically a perceived ownership of an idea. Basically, it makes it where in the company's mind that you own the idea, and therefore they need to pay you to use the idea. Now, it should be noted that a provisional patent application, it can only be useful for up to 1 year, and within that year's time, if you do not actually submit an actual patent, then the thing can go public domain. So note that, and that's a major thing that can kill some deals if you don't know how to navigate that right. Now, if you go with the right company, if they got stuff set up already, they might have a way where they will take care of the patent and they'll take care of all that, so you don't have to worry about that. And a lot of companies will try to not screw you over because they depend on these ideas. They depend on one idea to the next. Now, if a company is just setting up the thing or really didn't think about it, be a little bit wary there when it comes to this. But hopefully within that time frame, you've actually gotten enough there to actually file for a patent and go from there. So note that you won't always be able to file a patent. The company will file it for you, and just make sure that everything legally is fine. Go through the paperwork with a lawyer. But if they don't do that, then you will have to actually file that. And note that it is pretty expensive. From that point, what you want to do is do a sell sheet. And I'll be using this as an example, but basically you're looking at a something that looks like it belongs in a magazine, a simple one-page advertisement. It could be something like this. It could be whatever, but basically it's something to quickly show the idea, get the idea what is the product about, how to use it, whatever, and it just basically supposed to stick in the brains of the people who actually looks at it and says, wow, I want this. If you cannot sell the idea like this to whomever looks at it at whatever company, then they probably won't want to buy it. So what I would advise is look at a bunch of one-page sell sheets, magazines, and whatnot. It could be like this, makeup, whatever, and see how they gotten things right, and see if what you can manipulate, not manipulate, but mimic. So, for example, can you do photos like that? Can you do a quick PDF, which gives information on things? Can you show off the product in a certain way? Can a picture show off the product? And if you can't do a sales sheet like this, what you can do, like say for example, a sales sheet doesn't actually show off a product enough or give a good understanding on what the product does, then do a short 10-second video. Try not to go over 10 seconds. If you have to, 15 seconds probably fine, but try not to go above that. Basically, you want a very short video. Here's how to use the product, here's what it does, and go from there. With some like the Bop It one, this particular game, basically the person who made the idea on that, they didn't even make an actual working unit. What they did is, if I recall right, because I actually saw the video, it's very interesting. They took a stick that showed an idea. I think it had paper glue on it to show designs and stuff like that. When they touched something, someone outside the camera range, they made a noise. So you press that, it does that. You turn whatever, it does whatever, and so on. And it shows a short clip on an idea of a product. And it wasn't even a working product. It was just, a long thing with a bunch of paper glue on it, and that's pretty much about it. There was no electronics, no nothing, no plastic, no nothing. But again, your idea is to basically sell whatever your invention is to whatever company that you're presenting it to. Now, fortunately, because you're not selling it to random Joe Blow that you never met, you're actually selling it to particular companies. Since there's only a handful of companies that you're probably going to be interacting with, if not, literal and less than 5 range, you can look at their advertisement, figure out how they go about things, and you can try to match it as much as possible to figure out. So, for example, if I was to make something for Colgate, then I would try to keep in mind using a little bit of red with a white text, similar type of font. I would try to, show people smiling, stuff like that. It's basically look at their advertisements and try to recreate that as much as possible. Without, photoshopping them out or whatever, and putting whatever in. try to be a little bit original on that front, but look at how they go about their actual product line, their advertisement, and see if you can mimic that as much as possible. And you'll have a higher chance of getting better results, since that fits the company culture that you're presenting it to. And if you're going to send it to multiple companies, so for example, if I was send it to multiple toothpaste companies, for example, I'll try to find a commonality between them all. And if I don't have the money to make a bunch of sales sheets, or don't have the time or whatever, then I'll try to find a combination that will work with all of them. And that way, it's better than something that counterintuitive to their native advertisement. Next is hopefully you get into the negotiation phase. From here, it's contact back and forth. It's, hey, how'd you come by this idea? Tells a story, go through that line. And you might have to go back and forth maybe over 2-3 months, going like that. And after a certain point, you're going to, if they're interested still, because in that time they're trying to figure out the legality, if there's any matches or anything like that going on. But in that time, they will go and try to set up some type of negotiation contract, and you might be able to sign it and just read through it to make sure it's everything good. But the point of this is to say, all right, here's the base standards of this is what we're willing to pay you, this is willing this, that, and the other, and go from there. Now, one thing that some people try to do is say, hey, I want $1 million up front, or I want whatever. Don't do this. See, what happens is, even if you say, oh, I want $10,000 up front, there's a way to go about this without actually screwing yourself. Because if you say, hey, I want $10,000 up front, then there's a likely that they will back out a deal and say, no, we're not going to go forward with it. Now, what you can do is, with a little bit of time behind you can say, hey, I don't have enough money to cover the expenses for the patent, getting the patent done, and we need to make sure that this is protected under patent. Can you help pay for that? And some of them will say, hey, we'll just use our internal, and some of them say, yeah, we'll help pay for that. And you can actually get, you say $30,000, $25,000, whatever. You can give a round number like that. Keep in mind taxes and other things, because it's could be considered as income or whatever. But just try to give a good round number like $25,000, $30,000, whatever. And that way it will help pay for lawyer fees and all the other stuff, and goes from there. And if they will allow you to use their own lawyers and all that, make sure that the patent is in your name if all possible, or that you have rights to the patent and all that. If the patent's not in your name, there's a really good chance that they can screw you eventually. There's a pretty good chance that you could do is, okay, if you guys paid to get the patent done, then if the product's still selling in year 5, then you can own the patent, type of situation. And just keep in mind that you won't have a way to recourse that in the future, so you might not want to do that. But in some cases you might see that, oh, this is going to be a short-term thing, and and they might know it's a short-term thing that it can get a few years of whatever, but in case they'll be able to get the patent at the end. So yeah. Another thing is minimums. Look at minimums as far as what they can sell and whatnot. So for example, if they let's say if you expect that the product to be extremely good, then what you can do is say, if your company doesn't sell 50,000 units per quarter, then you can take the contract and go somewhere else, type of situation. That's basically all what a minimum is basically saying, you have to sell at minimum this amount, and then and if you don't, then I can take the contract to go somewhere else. And what happens some cases, if you don't negotiate minimums in there, then what would end up happening is they'll just sit there and do nothing. They won't do any manufacturing, any selling, any marketing, anything like that. They'll wait for it to lapse, and they'll just take the product for free, because at that point you probably don't have the patent yet, and you probably don't have the money to deal with that, and they'll just wait a couple years and just run with it and go from there. Because a lot of times when you do go for patents, you're not going to get it on your first run. You're probably going to have to go 2-3 runs into their revisions and all the other stuff, and it is a pain to deal with patents. And if you're unlucky, it's possible that they will just modify it just slightly and screw you over in that way. Now, from that point, you probably want to negotiate the percentage. Again, you could go up depending on how much you gave them and all the other stuff. But note all what's going on. If you need their help to pay for patents, if they're paying for that with their own lawyers, if I don't know, if you provided the CAD drawings, if you did whatever, if you did a lot, then you could probably get a higher percentage. If you didn't do a lot, then you probably will have a harder time. Notes that something is infinitely better than nothing. So at worst case, go whatever. Try not to overball it. So if they're trying to go for 2% and you're not comfortable with that, but you would take it, maybe go 5%. Don't go to 10%. They're not going to go for that, or at least a lot of times they won't. You go with 5% and see what happens there. If they're okay with something like 5%, try to go 6%. Try to always go up a little bit, because everything matters on that front. But anyways, as far as that goes, that's pretty much about it. I mean, beyond that, once the dots are signed, all that's realistically left, I mean, if they ask for help, then you give help, but you're just collecting paychecks. You just tell them where to send it to, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much about it. Now, as far as that goes, if you have any questions, anything else, then leave that down below, and I'll try and answer as quick as possible. Leave a like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next video. Have a great day.